Great. Well, thanks everyone, and thanks to those people who have just joined. Like I said, my name is Andrew Bennett. I'm the Territory Manager for Asia Pacific for Syrison. Also, you'll be hearing today from Brett Moffat, who's our Solutions Architect. Brett will be showing you through the demonstration of what you've come to see here today. So what the heading for this webinar is 5 configuration manager functions you should delegate to decrease escalations. So I think all of you may be working with configuration manager and want to see these, and we'll explain it a little bit in some PowerPoint slides very quickly, and then we'll get into the demonstration. There'll be some polls running through the demonstration as well for you to join in with. So what I'll do there is I'll go straight into it. I'll just tell you a little bit about us at Syrison. So we've been around since 2012, so quite a while, and we have hundreds of thousands of end users that use our products all around the world. We are global. We operate in over 52 countries around the world. We've got follow the sun support for all of those countries. We've also got a great community group. So we've got a vibrant, strong user group. They actively help us to optimize the value in all of our products, which is absolutely great. So again, today's webinar, the state of your configuration manager functions for the service desk. We all know that the service desk goals suffer without the right tools. So with this, the goal is to increase the resolution on the first contact if we can. Without the access to those right tools though, the analysts are forced to escalate even routine requests. This eliminates any possibility of any first call resolution. You end up with not meeting your SLAs, and end user satisfaction decreases. So what we're trying to do is show you how to get away from that. Often it's said, look, it's too risky to delegate the access to these analysts. We've all seen these mistakes that have happened and issues that have been reported when something has gone wrong, when things have been delegated incorrectly. It's often difficult to maintain role-based permissions or lockdown configuration manager. There's increased training that's required, which is a cost to the business. You need to have the console application installed. This limits what machines can be used by analysts. And also auditing and reporting is not easily accessible. So the top five functions that we want to talk about today, you can see on screen there. We think that these are the ones that yield the fastest success. To ensure that the right security privileges and groups are maintained, you can also gain control of software, manipulate the software easily when required. You need to get the right information from your systems without troubling or interrupting your users. You want them to have that great experience. The data that you get back can assist with audits and compliance, which again, will show you what Syrison Remote Support can do for you today, and how we link and oversee these, the primary associations, those computers there with their users. So again, the tangible benefits you can see here. By doing it correctly, the benefits include reducing those escalations, resolving more, if not most, on the first call, ensuring your SLAs are met or even exceeded, and the outcome should be a better customer experience right across the board. So Syrison Remote Support is a very powerful application from a device and also a user level. You can see on screen there that the particular applications which are included in Syrison Remote Support. It allows support teams to do their intended role safely. Those roles include securely initiating remote control, deploying and managing software, and managing users and accounts outside of the Configuration Manager console. And you can do all of this from within a single screen. So look, that's enough from me. I'll hand over to Brett now, who will do the demonstration. So over to you, Brett.
Thanks, Andrew. Let me grab the screen here. and I can show this screen. Cool. So this is the tools that we're here talking about today. Just briefly, I guess a bit of my background as a solutions architect here for Cyrus, and sort of my background when it comes to Configuration Manager. I've been working with Configuration Manager since it was SMS. It was actually SMS version 2 when I first got my teeth into Config Manager. So I've been through all the trials and tribulations of going from SMS into Config Manager, all the issues that people were sort of seeing around Config Manager, and some of those big mistakes that were made with Config Manager were even here in Australia. So we've seen our fair share of when Config Manager goes bad. So this tool really does sort of help with those Config Manager admins who are stuck having to do those same routines over and over again, because it's too risky to be able to give anybody access to Config Manager that hasn't had the full training and all the right security pieces are actually in play. So that's where the remote tools actually comes into play here. And most importantly, of course, it can then integrate for service desk analysts to be able to get that information very, very quickly, respond, diagnose those problems while the user's still there on the phone with them, potentially fix that problem and close that case out all at that first contact, all whilst remaining within certain parameters that they can't then go and make those kinds of mistakes that lead to bad disasters with inside Config Manager. So there's 5 primary things that we want to have a look at here. There's lots of different features that we can look at and a lot of power when it comes to these tools. But those top 5 that we really want to focus down onto really get the most benefit out of it very, very rapidly. So here's the actual product here. This is called Remote Support. It's got its own interface. However, it does integrate into your ITSM tool of choice. And directly from within those calls, you can access this in the specific areas. And we can have a quick look at that at the end of the demo as well, of how that actually interfaces. But the top 5 things are what we want to focus down on. The number 1 call that I see time and time again on the service desk over time is, of course, password resets for end users, ways for users to be able to, that people call up and say, hey, I can't get access to my computer anymore. I need to be able to reset my password. Inside this interface, I can actually search for the user, select the user, and get some instant feedback as to what is going on with this user. Here's all their AD information, all of those pieces. And I can see that they're locked on the domain. So I can unlock them on the domain and get them to try their password again. Or I can actually come in and reset their password directly from here. I don't need access to Active Directory users and computers. I can reset their passwords from within here. And technically, that's not a Config Manager activity or one of those top 5 things. But what it does, it's really powerful when it comes to a service desk perspective. But when it does come to interfacing with Config Manager, is really around that group control. So a lot of people have their collections inside Config Manager controlled around AD groups that they're a member of. So to give analysts access to be able to deploy software, we then have to add that user to a group within inside AD. Normally, we would have to have the AD users and computers console installed on a computer so we can then access that. The analyst would need delegated rights within inside AD to be able to add or remove users from groups or change passwords. But instead, we're using a service account here to add users to those groups. Now, I can also limit what groups the analysts can see here. So they can't add them to the domain admins group, for example, or config manager admins group. We can only add them to certain groups that we give them access to. And as we'll see in one of the other pieces here, one of the other top 5 items here, of that all being tracked and easily audited as to who did what, that comes a part of that as well. So the ability to manage AD accounts, but also from a config manager perspective, the AD groups that a end user is a member of is really powerful for analysts to be able to get to. Now, again, all inside a web page. I don't have to have 80 users and computers installed on this machine. I can do this from anywhere. And again, I don't, as this particular user that I'm logged on as at the moment, that user does not need rights over 80 users and computers, any delegated rights, anything like that. So very cool as far as that's concerned. When we actually dive down into Config Manager primarily, of course, is around dealing with computers. So all of our computers here that we've got inside Configuration Manager, as I open those up, one of the other key pieces is to be able to gather diagnostic data very quickly. With inside Configuration Manager, you would normally have to, once you've got the call, start up the Configuration Manager console, go and have a look at the discovery data and the inventory data over time, and filter through thousands upon thousands of data points that exist in there. What we do is we surface that information very quickly and very rapidly, so I can see when this particular user is calling up and telling me, hey, Photoshop's running really slow on my machine, what's going on? I can have a look at this machine and see, well, I can see the make and model of the machine and what it is. It seems to be healthy, plenty of disk space. Oh, you've only got 1 gig of RAM. That'll cause that sorts of problems that exist in there. So I can get hold of that diagnostic data very, very quickly. I can see what applications are installed on the machine. I can see what processes are currently running on the machine. I can see what services are currently installed and running. Any of the deployments that actually exist. So when someone calls up and says, hey, I've asked for this piece of software to be installed, but it's not been installing on my machine, I can actually see those deployment insights as to the errors that are appearing on that machine. So I can see that that Defender update was successfully installed on the machine and so forth. You know, my machine's asking me about patching, for example. I can see what patches Config Manager says that it's deployed to the machine. I can see what the client is telling me it is waiting to have installed on it. So gathering that diagnostic data is, you know, number 2 in our list of top 5 things that these tools can really help with Config Manager. Of course, this deployment here, information around the deployment insights, also means that we can actually start to deploy software. So the ability to deploy software directly under here, collection control, we can actually drop those machines into those collections directly. If you don't have AD group controlled collections, you can actually drop these directly into those collections as well. You can also directly deploy individual applications to individuals, even if that collection doesn't exist yet, will automatically create those collections. So if we look here at remote actions, we've got a bunch of those controls that we can have, and we can actually deploy an application directly from here with application deployment client evaluations, but also updating deployments machine policy and so forth. So again, if you're adding those computers to an AD group that is then updating that collection, you then want to force that computer to check its machine policy to be able to make sure that it's actually getting that information and seeing that piece there as well. What else do we have? We have deploying and repair of apps as well. So under software control, I can actually see what configuration manager has returned as far as its data is concerned. So I can see that there's a problem here with my my client and how it actually retrieves that information. So maybe that's something I need to go and look at. And why is this not showing what software asset data from configuration manager? Maybe I haven't turned that on. Maybe I need to look at this particular client. When I go into the client data instead, I can actually, this is actually a remote connection into the computer to actually show me what the computer's telling me it has installed on it. So being able to not only deploy apps from configuration manager to the machine, but then also see what the machine actually has installed on it right now, and then be able to repair those apps. So this is the ability here to repair that app or to uninstall that app. So this is the equivalent of going into add or remove programs, clicking on a particular entry, and then either hitting repair or uninstall on that app. Now, again, I haven't had to remote control into this machine yet. Traditionally, you would remote control into that machine, take that user away from what they're doing right now, and actually have to take over their machine while you do that repair work. Instead, we can invoke those actions remotely as well. So very good way to be able to deploy and repair those apps. When it comes to deployment of apps, we traditionally deploy apps per computer. This was always done because in earlier versions of Configuration Manager, if you tried to deploy an application to a user, every time that user logged onto a different computer, that application would then install on that computer, and you'd end up with copies of Visio or Project all over your organization, and it was really hard to maintain compliance. With Config Manager 2012, they introduced the idea of user device affinity, where you could set up an application, deploy it to a user, and say that it will only be allowed to install on their primary machine. That's a great idea, but most people had that set to automatically apply that user device affinity onto the computer, which took potentially days or even weeks to update. So it was very out of date, and it wasn't a clean and easy way to be able to maintain who was the primary owner of that machine. Now, you could also get the end users to do that. Well, getting end users to manually set their primary machine is never a simple task, never really worked. From an analyst perspective, you could go into the Config Manager console, find that particular computer, find that particular user, and join them up and set them as the primary user. Now, again, it's more steps and more things in a different tool while you're on the call to a customer. It's too many extra steps, so the majority of customers that I see don't do that. So instead, what we've done is introduce that directly into these tools. So while you're talking to the customer, while you're working with this tool, you can actually come to user affinity and see who is the primary owner of this machine. And I might want to manage that, remove it, and add that particular user into here as well. Change this over to a new user, and now that user is now the primary user of that machine. This is all now pushed back into Config Manager. So we can actually start to really use that primary device user in how we actually start to deploy software to end users. So number 5 is the primary user is the auditing of this analytic work. So traditionally, with all of this stuff, even things like resetting users' passwords, deploying software, remote actions via PowerShell, all of that, none of that is tracked. So if you're trying to look at ISO compliance, any of those sorts of things, the ASD Essential 8, any of those security pieces that you're trying to comply with inside your organization, you want to be able to know who's doing what with inside the products. So here under logs, everything that's done and invoked via these tools are all logged and easily searchable within inside the system as well. Now, this is all just stored inside Excel, inside SQL. So you can even write specific SQL reports there as well to be able to pull this information out, or even alert when certain things are done. So not only are we bringing in all these disparate tools from all over the place, we're also then being able to track that and have a lot more control over who does what, but then also auditing that information of who did what and when. So a big win for compliance information data there as well. So they're the top 5 interactions with Configuration Manager. But of course, none of that matters if we can't actually, you know, all of these tools that we're sort of replacing as far as this is concerned, you may already have. We've got the Config Manager console, we've got AD users and computers, all of those sorts of things. But the secret sauce really is the ability to interface directly with your self-service portal. Now, the self-service portal I've got here is IT Service Manager, System Center Service Manager, because it's the Microsoft System Center tool of choice here. But if I have a particular computer that I want to take a look at, maybe this one here, let's have a look. Don's given us a call. He said that his laptop has smoke coming out of it. Maybe there's something wrong with his machine. Okay, what's your machine name? Here I can track all of the standard information that I would track in any ITSM tool. It doesn't matter what particular tool that is. But here I can actually invoke those remote support tools and actually see, well, here's Don. So instead of having to jump out to those remote support tools and bring up his information, I can invoke that information directly from here. So I've still got my ticket open. I can diagnose that particular problem, see what's going on, and come back. Now, again, like any good ITSM tool, I should be able to associate an affected or related device or a particular user device. Now, again, user device affinity that exists here. I should be able to pick that machine and search for their particular machine that exists, associate that machine, and then from there, I can directly start to diagnose what's going on with that machine. It may be a particular service that I know can have runaway, it's just connecting at the moment, it can have runaway particular issues, so we need to kill a particular service, or it might be a particular application that's running on that machine that I need to be able to end that task quickly without going into remote support for that particular item. So interfacing directly with the ITSM support tool is absolutely critical in being able to see all of these tools from a single pane of glass, which is a really, really useful piece. So that's about it as far as the demo is concerned. But what I do want to ask is a bit of a poll here. So I'm just going to launch a poll. So speaking of IT support management products, I just want to ask people out there sort of what service desk product are you currently using? As we do have support for quite a few that are out there, and the ability to interface with pretty much any product that exists out there. So interested to hear what people are actually using. And so I'll leave that poll open there. Most people have voted. Thank you very much. Awesome, fantastic. Yeah, okay, so a big spread of different types of products right across the board. So very interesting. All right. So thank you for that. I'll close that one off. The next question, I guess, is are you using any other tools, third-party tools, for this type of remote support at the moment? And for doing a combination of all of these products, so AD, user accounts and groups, and deploying and receiving apps, gathering diagnostic data, auditing, all of those pieces, and all being able to then interface within your product as well. So everyone seemed to vote here as well. Thank you very much, everyone. Leave it open. Just about everyone's voted. Beautiful. Okay, so yeah, all right. So lots of people, pretty much everyone, saying that they're using another piece of another tool there as well. So interesting. So I'd be interested to see sort of how this compares with what you're currently using and its ability to be able to hit those top 5 issues there around AD, accounts and groups, deploying and repairing apps, gathering that basic diagnostic data, and dealing with the primary user associations. But most importantly, I think in our area at the moment is around that auditing of who can actually do what, there's locking down of that security and being able to report on what's going on as far as that's concerned. So yeah, it'd be interesting to compare the two. So speaking of comparing the two, just ask one last question here as to whether or not you would like us to actually reach out and have a chat to you about this particular product, give you a free license, a demo that you can actually get inside your environment, working inside your tools, to see how it actually works and see its benefits within the product. So don't feel that you have to, but we're more than happy to be able to set this up for you in your environment with a trial key, so you can actually use it on a day-to-day basis and work with your service desk team, but also your security team as well, to be able to see how this can assist with compliance of your security within your organization. Awesome. Well, thank you very much, everyone. That's about it for the demo. If you do have any other questions, please feel free to throw them into the question one there. One of the questions there is the name of the tool. The name of the tool is Remote Support. So it's Cyrus and Remote Support is the name of the tool. It does, let me close that off. The particular product does have different remote actions, such as remote control. So we can actually remote desktop, which is RDP, but also remote control, which is the config manager remote tools. It will basically invoke that on the computer, on the machine that you're actually working on at the time. But the actual tool itself is called Remote Support, and that's the logo for it there. So the ability to have this in tools such as ServiceNow, this tool is now part of the ServiceNow catalog as well, so you can actually install that app and then subscribe a subscription service to the product and have this appear directly within, say, ServiceNow and so forth as well. The next question is, are we recording this session? Yes, we're absolutely recording this session. After the session is finished, it will appear on our YouTube page. So we have a YouTube page that's a part of it. Because you have attended this webinar and or subscribed to this webinar up front, you will get an email with that link once it has appeared up on YouTube as well. So more than happy to, you should get that very soon, the next day or two.
Great, thanks, Brett. So thank you everyone for being part of that. That was great. Thanks for all the feedback. That's fantastic as well. For those of you who have said, yes, we would like to get in contact with us regarding a free trial, I will be getting in contact with you in the next 1 to 2 days to set up that free trial for you so that you can get all of the benefits of Cyrus and Remote Support. Any other questions that are there, we'll also get back to you as well. But yes, thank you very much for being part of that. And anything else from you, Brett?
That's it from me. If you do have any other questions or you think of a question later on, please feel free to get in contact. Always happy to be able to have that conversation. We have our final slide there with our contact details and all of those.
Sorry, Brett, I thought it was showing up on screen. Is that?
No, that's okay. I'll just switch over presenter to make you the presenter. I don't know that I can. Can I make you presenter?
Let me have a look there. There we go.
Here we go.
So you can see there that that next step is there. My details are there, which I'll be sending out as well. But I'll reach out after this webinar to set up those free trials to those of you who are looking to get that 30-day free trial of remote support. So we look forward to you using it. So on behalf of the team here at Cyrus, and thank you very much, and we'll be in touch.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye for now.